Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Survivor's Edge. I'm CEO Prepper, and today we're going to be going over bartering items. Now, everybody's got their own list of bartering items. I have my list, so I'm going to give you an idea of what I'll use to barter when an economic collapse occurs. Now, one thing a lot of people say is cash. Have cash on hand. Yeah, that's good for the short term, but if you throw in hyperinflation, I don't think you have enough cash to even buy a loaf of bread. So, one thing that we use is older coins. Let me bring them up here. Older coins. There we go. Older coins, anything before 1965 is good. The reason why is because these were actually made with about 90% silver content. So they'll be more valuable than your average quarter that you have in your pocket. So when you get your change from going grocery shopping or anything like that, pay attention. You may have quarters from before the 1965 date when they started changing the metal content, but at least in this case they're 90% silver. Also, you never know, this is a mercury dime, so, and these are pretty valuable to collectors. But, yeah, again, 90% silver. Next, it's always a good thing to have some silver coins, or gold if you can afford them, but mainly, most preppers will recommend silver. And these are 0.999% fine 1 ounce pieces of silver coins, or you can go and buy the bars. So that takes us to money. Now, after working in the correction system for a while, I did learn a few things. There are some things that are very valuable to the inmates. Now, in a situation where money is absolutely no good, so say you have a fall of Rome scenario, SHTF, whatever you want to call it, grid down, what have you, there are some things that will be worth more than money, worth more than even silver. Now, silver you can buy. You can go ahead and trade it off for things of that nature. There was actually a show called Revolution. It was on for about 3 seasons where they used diamonds as currency. I don't see everybody walking around with diamonds, but hey, you never know. So, but the reason I bring up the corrections situation is because, again, some things were worth more than money. And there's very simple stuff. So I would say you might want to take this example, the correction scenario, and what the inmates use as currency, and apply it here to a grid down fall of Rome scenario. Okay. One thing, seasoning. Believe it or not, this is very simple. This is actually stuff I do stock up on, and I mean, I get the good stuff for myself, but I stock up on cheap stuff to barter with. Batteries. Now, these are AA's. I have batteries of every size, but I buy these at like the Dollar Tree, and people will be going crazy over these. Especially in a grid down scenario where there's no power. Let's see. The old cheapy lighter. I have a ton of lighters. I have mostly Bics. But I do have a ton of these. Now, say you need to barter something. Keep the Bics for yourself, or keep the Zippos for yourself. Barter these off. People will kill for a little fire. Let's see. Now, some people say don't barter food. I'll have to agree with that. Don't barter food. However, there is some food that you can barter. And one would be, boom, ramen noodles. Reason being, I always recommend ramen noodles if you're going to barter those off. If you're going to barter off any food, ramen noodles is the trick. Why? First, it's cheap to get, even now. The other thing is they have no nutritional value whatsoever. So it's basically a filler. I know that. Anybody in their right mind knows that. But when people are starving and they have something that you want, barter, barter, barter. Something else. Again, it's going to be laughable, but it's, believe me, people will trade anything for this stuff because it's a simple pleasure that will probably become very scarce. Yes, the old toilet paper. Hey, even at the end of the world, people still have to wipe their ass. Okay. Now, I personally quit, but I still I have started making cigarettes. It's a lot cheaper than going out and buying cartons of the professional stuff. But you know, especially in SHTF, grid down, whatever you want to call it, any scenario, any disaster scenario, you know, people love simple, pleasurable things. Cigarettes, even though they are bad for you, and we all know this, but people will still smoke. And they will pay top dollar for it too. But one other thing, if you're going to do cigarettes, do them in a case that you can actually seal, like watertight. And I'm going to put some of those packets that keep them fresh. Let's see. Speaking of other stuff that people will more than likely, they're simple pleasures. No, they're not necessarily good for you, but you know, people will do anything to get their hands on this stuff, and they're great bartering tools, and you can literally get away with damn near buying anything from them for the stuff. Boom. Alcohol. I buy these at 99 cents retail. Yes, I know it's a bad idea to buy retail, but hey, you know what? I don't have a liquor license, so I'll buy it retail. But yeah, these are the small shots. But hell, this stuff will be worth gold when you have a disaster scenario. Next, we have, now you guys have already seen our Doomsday cigarettes. Now we got, boom, this is vacuum sealed coffee grounds. Yes, cursed earth coffee, folks. We have bought a few, well, let's just say we bought some coffee. And I decided, you know, I thought about one day, I was like, you know, it'd be a great idea. We have coffee. We'd love coffee, you know, in scenarios where it's not easily available. So, what would people do for something as simple as coffee? I'd rather not ask, but hey, you know, if you need it and you can barter with it, boom, there you go, coffee. And it's vacuum sealed, can't beat it, cursed earth coffee right there. Alright, now, a couple other things. This is stuff people have laying around and they don't think about it, but It's great stuff to have, and you can barter with it. You can get these. Now, I will say this: you can get a book, and this is really good for grid down scenarios. If you get like a stack of books from like the Goodwill, or some other place that sells them real cheap, in a grid down scenario or a fall of Rome, whatever, just some disaster scenario where there's no electricity, EMP, what have you. A book, you got to think about it. You got to look at what people did 100 years ago, before the advent of TV and the internet and computers and stuff. People read books, so expect them to go. They will more than likely go back to something simple as a book. Now, another thing that you may want to go ahead and get plenty of. We do have plenty of these, and the reason why, first off, we are we're pretty conservative, and we are very strong in our spiritual and religious beliefs. And I'm a big believer in the old military mantra of there are no atheists in the foxhole. Whether it's a Bible, Torah, or Quran, everybody at some point believes in a higher power. And so you can get a bunch of, have your own Bible, obviously, or whatever spiritual book that you, in accordance to the religion that you believe in, but, or your spiritual beliefs. But also have a bunch of others, because you may have to actually use these to barter with. I hate to say that, but it's true. So there you go. You may also have to barter with, you may have to come away with your favorite book, but in order to keep from doing that, get a bunch just to barter with. So that's all the bartering items that we're planning on using for grid down scenarios. Oh, one other thing I almost forgot. And no, I did not. No, these are not what we're planning on using. Not the actual ones we're planning on using. I just forgot to get them. Candles. People will still want candles, especially in grid down scenarios. So stock up on them. Not just for yourself, but to barter with too. So that's the end of this video. Thank you for watching. And remember, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And now you have the survivor's edge.